Well, I just started at DFC a couple of months ago. And as I have been learning more about the great work that we are supporting around the world, this conference that Pro Mujer was organizing came up on my radar. And I thought it was an important opportunity to talk a little bit about how DFC, through our 2X initiative, has been really prioritizing and integrating gender lens investing into the work that we're doing in Latin America and globally. So I was really happy to have this opportunity and to learn a little bit more about what we're doing in Colombia as well.
Gender lens investing has become a focus of the DFC.
Sure. The way that we're structured and how we're aligning our teams is around five key sectors where we see the majority of our investments, and that's in infrastructure, energy, health and food and agriculture, and then on support for small business and funds. But across all of those, what we are trying to bring is a 2X lens to assess how any individual project that we're financing, how it helps advance gender inclusion, whether that's a specific project that is targeting gender inclusion, such as a lot of our loan portfolio guarantees and other financial investments, or whether it's a energy project or a, infrastructure facility that's being constructed, and bringing a gender lens into that project itself. So what we've tried to do is mainstream and incorporate the gender lens into all of our investments. And we've shown some incredible progress since the initiative was launched. I think we have invested nearly 10 billion in programs and projects that are 2X. And just in this past year in FY23, we hit a milestone of 2.54 billion in gender-focused investing, which is great for a single year total. The 2X was launched as a coalition with our G7 partners. Now we have over 20 countries and or MDBs and DFIs that are participating. And I think over 27 billion in gender investing that has been catalyzed through that large network. What we have been trying to support is innovation in the instruments that are brought to bear and in how they are used. So whether it's a specific focus on gender or other types of impact that we're trying to unleash, certainly impact bonds, I think, is something that is gaining more and more popularity. And we've seen gender bonds. I think we participated in the first orange bond that was issued in FY22, looking at a refugee impact bond that we've supported in the MENA region in the Middle East. We're thinking about, now that we have the ability to invest in equity, we're thinking about how we bring our equity tools to bear to achieve specific impact. Some of that is through the ability to invest in impact funds in the region and elsewhere, and we've seen more and more rigor in assessing these impact funds and their ability to advance development impact. We're open to developing new ways. I mean, I think debt for nature swaps have become really exciting as a way to help countries that are struggling with an unsustainable debt burden to restructure that debt and at the same time use some of the proceeds to achieving investment in environmental biodiversity goals. But we're doing debt for impact swaps in other areas as well, debt for health, debt for food security. So this is another really exciting way to catalyze investment into important development sectors by using new tools.
you mentioned some actually very innovative stuff there. Is there ways the DFC is thinking about taking on more risk to push more impact, for example?
Yeah, we're always looking for the ability to assume more risk, to de-risk into more areas. Part of what we're trying to do through some of our investments is, for example, through our guarantees, is to de-risk, to allow financial institutions to on-lend in communities that they normally wouldn't, right? So that if we're providing a guarantee uh, for banks that are trying to address rural communities that don't have access to capital, or marginalized communities that are underbanked or unbanked, then we're assuming that risk and we're allowing those institutions to on-lend. But another area is in trying to do more positive subsidy investments that allow us to, whether it's in conflict areas like the work that we're doing in Ukraine, whether it's in fragile communities, and I participated in a conversation at the UN General Assembly about frontier markets and fragile states, and how do we bring private capital into these situations where there has been a dearth of private sector investment. So I think we are looking for more ways to do that and trying to increase the risk profile. Obviously, it's a portfolio approach. At the end of the day, we have to balance out where we think that there's a strong kind of viable financial return with where we think there's a developmental imperative to try to take on more risk and balance that out across the board.
Loved what you were saying earlier also about the intersectionality of gender and other categories, climate in particular. That seems to be a broader trend, and it seems like the way I think you educated about scaling gender. Can you say more about the nature of intersectionality of gender and other
Sure.
categories?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of different ways to look at it. One, who are the communities that are most adversely impacted by climate change, and women and poor communities are significantly more impacted. And so, as we think about adaptation, as we think about mitigation, we need to think about these communities in general. But second, it's also an opportunity, because as we are talking about the energy transition that the world is undergoing, as we think about the new economy that is being unleashed, the clean economy, we need to make sure that that economy is an inclusive one. And so, both from a perspective of how we're thinking about adaptation and mitigation, and how we're thinking about the future facing economies, whether it's in renewable technology, whether it's in some of the uh, uh, new and emerging technologies that are being brought about. And I think one great example is this project that we're financing in India, which is creating solar manufacturing with Tata Power. So not only are we helping diversify the solar manufacturing, solar supply chain, not only are we helping to advance clean energy goals, but working with Tata, we were able to include that Tata would hire nearly 65% of its workforce as women in leadership jobs, in technology, in STEM jobs, in high paying, high value jobs. And that makes sure that women are, again, at the forefront of the new economy that we're trying to support and bring about.